and welcome to the Virtual Nature School. Wherever you are in the world, we welcome you into our little community. I'm Claire Warden and I'm the person who's going to be facilitating our journey during this inquiry. So this week we're going to be looking at shadows, and shadows to me are one of the most fascinating things. We need first of all to work out how we create shadows. When do they appear? Where don't they appear? Now, I don't know if you can hear right now, but right above me is the rain and it's pouring down. And you may think today is not the day for a shadow, but I wonder if you can work out how you could create a shadow that happens when it rains, because actually we can look at the dry, wet comparison to make rain shadows. We can look at shadows that come from sunshine onto dry surfaces and onto wet. So this week, we're going to be delving deeply into shadows, how we make them, or how they form. We'll be looking at concepts such as opacity, translucency, transparency. We'll be actually thinking about how we could use that knowledge to create a form of sharing, a performance, if you will, by the end of the week. Let's have a look at the film and find out where we're going to start.
Welcome to our inquiry all around shadows. We're going to explore all the different things about understanding shadows. We're going to try and do a sharing of shadows. We're going to put on a shadow play, or it might be that you're going to share with us a slideshow of different shadows that you've managed to capture. Ultimately, we'll be aiming towards a bit of a shadow performance. So to help you in your planning, you've got a memory book all about shadows, and there are more ideas and things to do in there if you just download it. In the talking tub, we're going to be looking at the idea of shadows, but my challenge to you is whether or not you could catch a shadow in some way. In order to do that, you're going to need to have some sunshine. If you're somewhere where there isn't a lot of sunshine, you might need to look to find yourself a torch or a lamp that you can use to cast that shadow onto a wall or onto a sheet. If you're out and about and going for your walk, shadows are everywhere, whether you live in the countryside or whether you live in the city. So look at these beautiful shadows that the lovely railings have made onto the pavement. There's even a lovely shadow that's come from the litter bins. So shadows are really quite interesting, and they're everywhere, all around us. Here is a shadow of a window on a wall. Who would have thought that it was such a clear outline of those window frames with the people standing up? I wonder if you can guess what these shadows are from. Well, actually, they're from the roof. So it was an open roof and the shadow was cast on the seat. But it's very clever because the angle, the shape of the seat has changed the way that the shadow moves. These are glasses that were just on a worktop, and the sun came beaming in through the window and created these beautiful shadows. Some shadows are very dark and some shadows are slightly lighter. So you could explore just using glass that's cut in different ways to see what shadows you could make. This is the light coming through a flower. It's the tulip petal, and what we can see here is a shadow of all of the little stamens inside the flower. If you haven't got sunshine, then we're going to work together using a torch. So there are lots of games we can play about moving our hands around and making different shapes using the torch to cast the shadow onto a wall or onto a sheet. So play with your hands and see what shadow shapes you can make on the wall. I don't know if you remember a summer's day when you may have been walking along and your shadow is right beside you. If you're outside and it's a sunny day, see how long you can make your shadow, or how short. Can you make your shadow dance? What things could you make it do? You might want to see if your shadow can balance, because looking at how you move and seeing it in a shadow is really rather amazing. You might decide to turn yourself into a caterpillar or a slug, because the image of the shadow looks different to the way you look in real life. You might decide to get everybody's hands friends and family and bring all those hands together and look at how different they all look when they're in a shadow. I wonder if you could make up a game as to whose hand belongs to which person. You could be very clever and draw some things on the pavement or outside somewhere and then see if you can make your shadow fit the crown or fit the lollipop. Here's another one where someone has drawn a character and then the shadow is pretending to hold on to the hand of the drawing. See if you can use your shadow to pretend to pick up something real, like this shadow looks like it's about to pick up the leaf. So explore your shadow, because we need to understand how shadows work, how they move and how you make them, so that when you start to make your shadow puppets and your play, you'll understand a little bit more about how to get a really good shadow. I look forward to hearing about all of your ideas and your suggestions for things you are going to do with shadows in the virtual classroom. See you then.
So shadows are everywhere. We can create shadows using that light source, but we can use the sun as a light source, and we can also use the idea of blocking out light just by using it from the dry body onto a dry surface with the rain falling around us. If you're in a hot climate, you might decide to try to make a shadow where you're against the wall and somebody sprays you with a hose pipe, leaving a shadow, a trace of you against the wall. Now, all these things are going to build up our knowledge through the week. So whether you're 3 years old or 11 years old, there's always something to learn when we start off on our journey of inquiry.